Welcome to the Bleav Podcast Network SoCal Sweat. My name is Anne McDaniels, a former NFL cheerleader and product manager turned actress and model who dreams of being a UFC fighter. Meow. Learning strategies to help motivate others leads me to bring you interviews each week from a range of athletes, experts in fitness and nutrition, and so much more. Thanks for listening to Bleav, the #1 podcast for working professionals, and let's push our endorphins to higher performance through SoCal Sweat.
Is one of the happiest people you'll ever meet. This is Helen Lynn. She works in sales for a comedy club in the Boston area, and she has a very unique training technique. She's an ice swimmer. And we're not talking a polar plunge where you hop in and hop out. Lynn goes out in the dead of winter with water temperatures sometimes in the 30s and swims a mile or even more.
A lot of people think I'm insane for jumping into freezing cold water, but I love it.
I love this spirit. 33 years old. This is one of the few people in the world that have completed an ice mile, swimming a mile in water that is 41 degrees or below. He's smiling in the middle of his obstacle. Get off that bow tie. It's hard to imagine someone who's enjoyed a competition as much in the middle of it as Happy Helen. This joy is infectious. I love people. You're reminded of what it's like to be out here. You can feel the happiness. This is the type of person you want to hang out with.
And it just so happens that she is exactly the person that we get to hang out with today. This is your host, Anne McDaniels, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of SoCal Sweat. Today, I can't wait to feature Helen Lynn, whose perseverance, strength, and smile has gotten her through everything. She is currently a certified strength coach and personal trainer, a TRX Level 1 qualified trainer, nutritional coach, swim and rock climbing instructor, and everything else for her clients. But she got her success from all of the wonderful competitions that she competed in, the huge challenges, and the 2018 American Ninja Warrior Season 10. She's an ice swimmer, rock climber, Olympic powerlifter, swimmer, snowboarder, parkour, all-around ninja warrior. She says to her clients, who absolutely adore her, "Give me 1 hour of your time and see how it can change the other 23 hours of your day." I'm very happy to introduce to you Happy Helen. Happy Helen Lynn. Helen Lynn of Happy Helen Fitness.
Well, hello there in Boston. Happy Helen Lynn, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
This American Ninja Warrior, what is her morning regimen? Does she get up? I think she's drinking tea. Is that what I see there?
Yes. Yeah. I drink a lot of tea.
Yes.
I am a big tea fan. So
not a coffee drinker?
No. And I tried. That's the thing. It was really cool in college to be drinking coffee and staying up late to, study. And so I tried, but then I got all jittery and crazy.
Oh, and I've tried tea, and it's the opposite way. I can't do it at all.
Oh, really? So you don't drink the tea, but you drink coffee?
Exactly. It just doesn't possess the balls the coffee has for my body.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't.
No, but it's much healthier. So Helen, I am so happy to have her on the podcast today. She is a 2018 America Ninja Warrior. She is just a ball of unbelievable strength. I mean, going from her ice swimming to her rock climbing. Before we get into everything, can you just tell us how you were as a child? Like I myself was jumping off garage roofs into my dad's arms as a child. Tell me you did things like that.
I guess you could say I was a really hyper child for sure.
Sure.
I had a lot of energy as a child. And I think the mistake my parents make is that they didn't put me into any athletic things early on, because I think that would have been a good channel into that. But they were, being very culturally stereotypically Asians, in which you have to do a lot of studying and read a lot of books and that kind of stuff, do math problems. I'm not kidding. They gave me math problems, as side, you come home from school and they give you extra math problems versus channeling my energy towards something else. That was probably a mistake on their end. But yeah, so I was very hyper as a child, and I don't think I found the outlet for these athletic pursuits as an adult. So I think I probably I didn't sit still. I jumped around a lot. I wasn't good at studying, probably just because ultimately I should have been just doing a little more physical activity than sitting around. But
you were a little Evel Knievel. I mean,
yeah,
and it's just fine. It's so puzzling that you started this whole thing as an adult and you became that good. Imagine if you had started as a child, you more than likely would have been in the Olympics and beyond. And it kind of makes
well,
me
I mean, there's definitely genetic things, and who knows, right? You never know. But of course,
Right.
as you're an adult, you always wonder, what if I just did this as a kid?
And
you know, what could have happened? But you could say that about anything, right? If
For
you did this
sure.
sooner, anything in life, that's how it goes. So
And
you
with
never
that
know.
much pressure as a child, even on the academics and math, if they had pushed in this, you may have hated it. I mean, because
Well, exactly, right? Maybe I would have been good, but then they would push too hard. I wouldn't like it. So you just never
Yeah,
know. So it's
exactly.
fun.
You've got a great attitude about it. And you just kind of discovered academics, although you're very smart, just wasn't your thing. Like Harvard and Yale, all the pressure from your family. That's hard in itself. I come from a strict family too. And
Yeah.
it's hard to figure out, just your own internal of getting like, okay, I'm happy with myself, trying not to be on the defense all the time. Was that something that you always had to overcome, or were you just after a while, you're like, I have to be myself?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I feel like it's taken me, I don't think I really understood this till my 30s, honestly. So in my 30s, I felt like, man, I should do things for myself. I've been listening to what everyone else is telling me. And, everyone meaning parents or societally, right? Like what I'm supposed to be doing, like getting married, having kids, or doing a certain career, right? Like certain things we're supposed to hit along the way, whether it's parental, societal, and as a female, there's certain things, right? So definitely that took many years, and even still struggling now because I'm 36 and I don't have kids, right? And that's definitely something I'm supposed to be checking off along the way, and I haven't yet, or I don't know if I will, right? Yeah. So a lot of things that I felt like I only am learning, even still learning now in my 30s. But for sure, I mean, up until my 30s, I was trying to just like everyone else, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing and job life-wise. And academically, I think I wouldn't have known if I really loved academics or learning or anything like that, because my parents pushed me so much one direction that I fought against it, that who knows, maybe I really internally love math and science, and I still don't know to this day, but I have a block towards it. So who knows? That's why you can't always push too much in one direction. You got to let everyone figure out things for themselves.
And
right?
I think that, but then you also kind of discovered a love of theater. I mean, because you had been doing your 9-to-5 job prior to training, prior to all of this. It was like a reality show producer kind of thing, wasn't it?
Well, so I was I was in the theater business and working a lot of actors. And the funny thing was, growing up, I actually wanted to be an actress when I was young. So that was the thing. As a kid, I loved theater. I loved musical theater, did a lot of that kind of stuff. But my parents were not gonna approve of theater. Are you kidding me? That's a hobby. You're not going to make money. I mean, the deal more than anyone.
Bleav me, yes.
Right? So that was definitely, and that was a passion. And my parents were like, I don't think so. So I studied journalism instead. And, but that, again, all my life, there's things I wanted to do, passionate about, but, didn't feel like that would have been financially a good idea, or it's not practical, all this stuff. And so, but the funny thing is I did end up working in theater, but on the business side, right? So I had a steady job, so that was good, but at the same time, I could be around things I love, like theater and actors, comedians,
all that. Producer versus actor, it seems like a little less head in the clouds, probably to your
exactly, and the business end of things. So that kind of, I think that was a good mesh of the things I loved and having a steady job. So, but yeah, so you can figure it out along the way for sure, but sometimes you don't really know. Who knows?
No,
we don't know.
But I think it worked out beautifully and perfectly, for all of us, and there's just lessons learned. But so then what was the first actual athletic event that you participated in? Was it just a swim, like a lap swim competition? What really triggered that?
Yeah. Well, as a kid, I did. So as a kid so when I was about 15, I joined a swim team, and that was my first really athletic team, or really anything athletic, when I was 15, which is, of course, now sounds young, but at the time people have been, enrolling swim lessons, they were 6, right? So I was actually pretty new as a teenager. And so teenager, I loved swimming and did a lot of swim, competitions then, as, just like regular club and high school swim team, all that stuff. And then I didn't do it in college because I was way too slow to be on a college team. So that's when I started doing theater in college and found my love for theater, refound my love for theater in college, and never really went back to athletic things until I graduated college. So it was not until I graduated college.
So no club teams at all, even in college for swimming?
Nope. College, I totally did not do anything athletic, pure theater.
Sure.
And then after college, when I, became, adult and got a job, then I started going back. I was like, I should exercise again.
Look at how and then the opposite. That's crazy. And so what was your, I was a swimmer as well, not like,
were you?
You were a swimmer and mostly a diver. I mean, I would do the medleys.
Awesome.
I did the medley relay, the breaststroke, and I love platform and springboard diving. So much fun.
Oh, amazing.
And was your race, could you do all four? And when you do open water swim, I imagine it's just the freestyle. I mean, do you constantly switch up your strokes?
Yeah. I mean, so pool swimming is very typical, you're, swim back and forth on a pool and you compete in the 4 different strokes, butterfly, back, breast, free. And everyone really generally competes in all of them. So you know how to swim everything. You might be better at one or the other.
Yeah.
I was mostly freestyle and breaststroke, but I was mostly like an endurance swimmer. So I was better at the longer distances. And that's why when I started doing open water swimming, it was well suited for me because it's more endurance. I had no speed. I had 0 speed, but I could swim a little bit longer or didn't mind swimming a little longer than most people. I can't say I was good at it. I just enjoyed it more. So maybe that was why, but open water swimming is all about longer distances in the ocean and stuff like that. No lane lines.
Okay, Helen, I am dropping my pen here. As you can see, I can't drop the mic. I'll drop the pen. What in the world? I'm obsessed with Jaws, open water, all these things. How in the world did you overcome a fear, if you even had a fear, besides the fact that it's like beyond freezing and like getting like beat to death by other swimmers trying to cover up? The water is just like, it is so cold. I mean, you train in like the Russia type of waters where the Russian Polar Bear Club,
swim over there. I know. Well, I told people, so say you've been walking on a treadmill your whole life, all right, and you've enjoyed it. And then one day someone was like, let me take you outside and walk outside. And you go outside and you're like, oh my God, the air is so nice. I can see the trees, there are birds, it's beautiful, but you could be like, oh my gosh, but there are cars outside or there are animals or whatever, so it's a small equivalent of that, meaning that like, sure, there's the safety of being inside, but when you go outside, it's much more beautiful and you're in nature and you get to see creatures. And maybe some people don't like the same creatures, so I can understand that. But you realize how small you are compared to the world. So that feeling feels really cool.
I bet.
But sure, just like when you go out hiking or when people go mountaineering, I assume there's, a lot of dangers there, but you do it because of the adventure. There's a little adventure.
Absolutely. The only thing I fear is sharks. Like I'll do anything, but for some reason, open water, because I had to do a big stunt in Bleav, and there were tiger sharks. And I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, Anne, how are you getting on this boat so fast with all that equipment? Oh, baby, I've got a nitrous tank in my booty here. I want to come up back on that boat. When you yell cut and we're done, let's get us out of here. I just think, did you ever see a fin? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I've seen, when I swim in California, there are sharks there. And here's the thing, as every swimmer, open water swimmer, you know that it's out there, but you have to just tell yourself, that's what I do. Statistically, we like to say we're not on their menu. They don't actively seek out humans. Usually shark attacks, or if they accidentally think you're a seal. We don't wear wetsuits. That helps on the seal front.
But it still happens. I know. You're right. Right.
It's sort of like you get in a car, there could be a car accident, but you take the risk because it's pretty low.
Yeah.
But I understand everyone's like, what about the sharks? It's very low chance that a shark randomly, because the ocean is huge. So the chances of it just randomly coming up and biting at you is very low. But I understand the fear because it's just you can't see anything, right?
It's fascinating. That fascinating
totally
right there.
Totally good.
Besides the fact that it's really cold. And I did hear that every swimmer usually has somebody in a boat with them, because I'm sure people pass out a lot or just get overly tired. What are some of that?
Well, so in marathon swimming, I mean, there's a difference in terms of, I mean, it gets a little bit, niche, but let's say marathon swims, because we're talking about boats. So say a marathon swim that everyone will have heard of is the English Channel.
Right.
Okay. You swim the English Channel. This is an official marathon swim. There's no set dates. You have to hire a boat and pilot, and you go with the tides. There's a whole thing. But you are escorted by a boat because obviously you don't know where France is. You gotta follow the boat, and the boat guides you.
Okay.
And hopefully through your training, you have trained enough for this, and the conditions in the water temperature, and if you have jellyfish stings, whatever, you train for these type of things so that day hopefully you don't pass out or you're hypothermic. Like the biggest reason a lot of times for people is they get hypothermia, or maybe their nutrition is bad, and they because you still have to eat when you're swimming, because you're swimming for like 11 hours, so you have to fuel. So you have to, just like any other race, you train for all these factors so that on race day you know what to do and it happens. But obviously if you're not well trained, or maybe you just have a bad day or conditions aren't in your favor, you have to be pulled out. It happens.
Sure.
But people generally don't pass out if they're because if you're swimming for something that big, you've done a lot of swims.
It's like the Boston Marathon of
you don't just go and
Right.
run the Boston Marathon and pass out generally, right? Unless something terribly
Sure.
goes wrong with your nutrition. But people generally hopefully know what they're doing.
I didn't even think about the fact that you probably eat while you're in there. Do you like just eat gels, and is all the food carried on that boat?
Yeah, it's really funny because in marathon swimming, they call it a feeding, because you're being fed like a seal.
Insert Joss theme.
Yeah, so like you have a crew and a boat on there, and you're not allowed to touch the boat or get on it. That's part of the rules, is that you have to swim completely unassisted, which means you can't even so much as hang on the boat. You have to just drink water.
Cheat.
So what happens is when it's time to feed, they throw you your food or drink on like a rope. Like so for instance, I do like a liquid diet type thing. So it's like mixed in a water bottle that they tie on a rope. And then at usually every 30 minutes, they'll do a wave or a sign so you know to stop. And they throw you your food on like a rope, and you drink it or eat it or do whatever while treading water. And then you just throw it, and they reel it back. Like
it
literally
like torture. It's only the worst torture.
It's very funny. So yeah,
you are a warrior. So you did all of these things, and it was cool that you kind of said women are better, and I not to stereotype women and females from males, but females tend to be better at endurance swimming in the water due to probably a higher level of body fat. And just
I mean, again, this is speaking very generic, general speaking, right? Because obviously there's exceptions for everyone, and guys do very well in marathon swims as well. But for instance, the first person to swim the English Channel was a woman.
Love it.
So that was pretty amazing. It was, big deal at the time, 1900s. But and we think that it's because generally women have more, this is true. Women generally have more fat distribution because obviously we have to carry children around the hips and thighs. So we carry fat around those vital organs, which I think protects us from the cold as well. Sure. So I think in terms of marathon swims and ice swimming, you need to protect your vital organs from the cold. Right. And we already kind of have that built in.
Sure.
Because,
and it makes us more buoyant also, just slightly bit more buoyant.
For sure. So I think that does bode well for us in certain endurance sport.
Love it.
Well.
I'll power the females.
There you go. You totally want to swim in the cold for 6 hours now, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm just trying to do so. So after your multiple successes with that, you turned to rock climbing. And it was so interesting how you kind of decided that your body type is pretty much perfect for that. And you could really already do pull-ups, where a lot of these people cannot do that. And rock climbing is very specific, I Bleav too. I remember when I lived in France, a lot of the French were very good at rock climbing because they're very spidery, long, and that helps a lot. So how would you think that, and how tall are you, can I ask?
I'm 5'2".
5'2". Okay.
Yeah, I'm very short. Yeah.
You're short and you're compact, but you're almost like a gymnast. So you've got unbelievable upper body strength, where a lot of women maybe have to work a little bit harder on that.
Sure.
And you were right away doing pull-ups. You're like, look at me. I can't believe I can do it.
Well, yeah. I think because of swimming, I use a lot of upper body strength. Believe it or not, swimming is mostly upper body, and our legs just kind of drag along. So I think that translated very well in rock climbing that I didn't know about. But everyone has that's the thing. Most women, and especially being a trainer, have strong legs. And again, I think it's just because stronger legs and hips and thighs, all that stuff. And most women have weaker upper body, stronger legs, and guys are the opposite, right? And that's very common, stereotypically, generally speaking. But I oddly was the other way around. I was much stronger upper body and I'm way less. I'm weaker in the legs. So any woman could come along. Honestly, we could squat, and probably most women will be able to out squat me in a very short amount of time. But the funny thing about the upper body is that I could stand out a little bit on the upper body because most women can't. And hence the rock climbing and Ninja Warrior just happened to bode well for me genetically, that I was a little bit off on that front.
Unbelievable. Is it?
Yeah, very strange, very strange.
To pull yourself up? Because I mean, I can barely do the flex arm hang, and I'm a strong girl. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's just very strange. And I'm like, great, awesome. But like my legs are so weak. So it all evens out for everybody.
Sure. No, it worked out well for you. So with that, you went on to American Ninja Warrior. What was that process like? And what kind of made you discover that, oh, I really need to apply for this?
Yeah. Well, I was always a fan of the show, as a lot of people are. And I remember watching the first video that went like viral with that girl Casey, who this is so many years ago, and there's a viral video of a first female who conquered a course. And I remember watching the video and thinking, that is clearly edited with some special effects, because no one can do that. Wow. I just didn't think no humans could do that, because I didn't know anything about, that kind of skill set many years ago, like gymnasts and all that stuff. So I thought it was crazy. Right. And then years later, when I started rock climbing, and when you rock climb, is very similar movements to ninja stuff. And I just thought, oh, well, I'm in this phase of trying new things, and rock climbing seems very similar to ninja. I wonder if it's totally crazy if I just tried Ninja Warrior, and if there's a gym. And weirdly enough, there's a gym near me in my town, like a specific ninja gym. And I just showed up to an adult class and found that, I have some upper body strength. This is crazy. Probably because I've been rock climbing, to be fair. And that's how you start. And if you go to a ninja gym, most people there have applied for the show or been on the show, because it's a very small community. So you kind of learn the process. But honestly, I tell people it's really easy. Anyone can apply. You just go on the American Ninja Warrior website every year, and you just apply online. It's a very easy process. You apply. It's like 6 pages online about yourself, and then you submit a 2 to 3 minute video. So they cast you based on the video you submit. You don't have to see them in person or audition or phone interview or whatever. You literally just submit that 2 to 3 minute video, and they cast you based on that video. So better be a good video.
And you were already in theater and like in management. So you killed it. And on top of that, and we'll highlight at the end, you created an awesome video with your success on American Ninja Warrior. Let me train you. Let me be trained by Helen. It was like the coolest thing ever. Of course, anybody would want to like be trained by you after seeing that.
Oh, I don't know.
That was really well done. But was there anything specific that you put in that video that you thought was like really funny, or maybe made you stood out, besides the fact that you're, phenomenal?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, because again, it's for Ninja Warrior, they're not looking. I mean, they want you to submit a video of your upper body strength so that they know you have some base level physically, right? That's a given. But really, they're looking for a good story. I mean, because you're submitting for a TV show. I mean, you have to be interesting, and I mean, they will would like you to have an interesting story for TV, right? And everyone has it. Everyone has a story to tell that's unique about themselves. So when people apply, they just got to think, what story can they tell that would inspire people or make it interesting for people to watch on TV? Because they get, 75,000 applicants. So how do you stand out? Because just being athletic, everyone is. So what's your story to give? Absolutely. But for me, I submitted a story about my ice swimming. That was my story, is the ice swimming. Yeah. So
they dropped their pens and heard sharks and like, nope, she's
right. There you go. Being really cold. So I guess that did it. But
sure. And that with all of this got you into powerlifting, correct? Because wasn't powerlifting sort of part of the training for American Ninja Warrior? And
I know this is very confusing, but it's Olympic lifting, which
Olympic lifting.
is different than powerlifting.
Okay.
And literally everyone says the same thing because it's extremely confusing, because Olympic lifting is more powerful than powerlifting. So it makes total sense. The name is just wrong. So powerlifting is 3 movements, deadlift, bench press, and squats. And those powerlifting competitions are based on those 3 movements, and they're not as powerful as what I do, which is called Olympic lifting, which is just called Olympic lifting because it's the only weightlifting competition they have in the Olympics.
And
it's very confusing, but basically Olympic lifting, I'm sorry, say that again?
It's more complicated and strategic, isn't it? Because I think you mentioned that you said it looks really easy, but it isn't at all. Like there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, Olympic lifting only refers to 2 movements, the snatch and the clean and jerk. So you only train those 2 movements, and that is what's consistent in Olympic lifting. So I started doing Olympic lifting versus powerlifting because I thought because Olympic lifting is more powerful and you train a little bit more. I mean, we call it like fast twitch muscles, like things that you actually would help a ninja warrior, like jumping vertically, explosive power. And so when people train football players, they train them in Olympic lifts because it trains them to be more explosive. And, so that kind of stuff. So I really liked that because first of all, it was fun. And I'm not an explosive person. I came from marathon swimming. We didn't have to be fast and explosive, right? You just have to endure. So I thought it was different than the training I used to do. And it was cool to learn to be powerful, which I am not. So that's why I started doing it, because it was just so different and unique and very technical. And, new challenges are always fun.
I would think that you'd be really good at that because you have, being 5'2", you already have sort of fast twitch muscles in from what I would see.
Well, I mean, I love to, but that's why I do it. Because I am 5'2", for a ninja warrior obstacle, you need to be more explosive than someone 6'2", right? Because I got to be able to jump to a certain, obstacle that some guy maybe be able to step over. So as a short person, you have to be way more powerful, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What were your biggest wins personally for American Ninja Warrior? Was there one thing that you did better than somebody, where you felt really great?
My personal win was getting past the first obstacle.
I bet.
Because as a rookie, as anyone new to the show, all you care about is just finish the first obstacle and not trip, on the way to the first obstacle. So that itself is very exciting because you just want to make it to one, because you don't know how it's going to go, because you don't know what obstacle is going to be there.
And the world's watching you.
Yeah, and the world's watching you. So you're just, you have very low expectations. Like, just don't fall on the first obstacle. Don't trip on the way to it. So that's a personal win.
Yeah.
But honestly, being chosen for the show is always just such a thrill in itself, because it's so famous that everyone and their mom, people will message me saying, "Oh my gosh, my cousin is watching," and you don't know these people, and you're like, "Oh, thanks, no pressure at all."
Yes, and I have to say, Helen, my dearest grandmother just passed away. She was 92.
Oh,
she was an unbelievable, she was a queen. She was not a 92-year-old person. She loved American Ninja Warrior.
Oh,
she passed in October, and I'm like, I want my grandma here. She would just go nuts over the fact that I'm interviewing you.
Oh my God, that's so sweet that she's such a big fan.
She loves athletics,
every
basketball.
Age group watches the show.
Yep. So
did you say she was athletic?
Oh, she loved athletics, watched basketball.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my grandfather was a huge athlete, so it was just really cool, So she's with me today, and she's cheering you on. I know she's so excited. It was bad timing. Well,
that's so sweet. I know, everyone loves it.
Yep. So that's really cool. I'm sure your parents must have just gone, or were they not? I mean,
or were they not?
Yeah.
My my stepmom came on the sidelines and supported and waved signs. So that was wonderful that they came and I think they thought it was moderate. It's hard to tell with my dad, but
they are bragging about you all the time, and who
knows?
Never know it. Yes. And they're not going to tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will. I'm sure they're very proud of you. That's amazing. So with that, you really got into Olympic lifting because of American Ninja Warrior, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, after Ninja Warrior is over, I was looking for what to do next. I'm always kind of looking for the next athletic hobby to pursue,
because nothing's ever good enough. That's
wonderful. I know, exactly. If one thing's ever good enough, gotta try something else. So I was just looking for something different again to train, And I just came across, I tried CrossFit for a little bit, and that's how you get introduced to Olympic lifting. So then I found I really like it. I'm still doing it now. And it's a good thing to do during COVID because, we built a platform in my living room, so I don't have to go out and find a place. So that's next during the pandemic. Yeah.
But you said I heard you say on the Mind Pump podcast that you didn't like CrossFit.
Oh no, I did not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely fun and you feel like you're dying, which can be a great thing if you're trying to get a lot of calories burned. But I didn't love that they were doing Olympic lifting for newbies. This is totally newbies, just because it seemed like, and as a trainer, you're like, oh my gosh, if some newbie came along and just try to run a mile and then do Olympic lift, they would definitely hurt themselves, because I spent a lot of time just learning Olympic lifts without fatigue, running around hurt. So it was just a little bit dangerous for a complete newbie. Sure. So that's why I didn't love that. But if they have a good coach and the CrossFit gym does a good well with onboarding, then there's not a lot of problem. But the one I went to, I was sort of like, oh gosh, I'm going to hurt myself.
No, and I've hosted some of the X Games with the CrossFit. It's almost painful to watch sometimes, especially if you've endured a certain injury or some things like that.
Yeah.
It's a great sport.
It's amazing.
Is a big thing. And is it great for longevity? I don't know. That's
right. Exactly. If you want to live to old age, I don't know how long we can do that for, but
exactly.
It's fun.
Exactly. I'm so glad you discovered this coming out of it. Now, are you still in touch with some of your competitors, and were your competitors kind, or was it really dog eat dog? What was it like on the show?
No, everyone, it was so welcoming from the minute I stepped into the Ninja Gym to being on the show. Everyone it's really a very supportive community. I'd never got the sense of anyone feeling like they were competitive with each other. Everyone is it's a very bonding experience, because you get there and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. Right. That's so cool. Everyone has that, like first day of camp type feeling. So, everyone is super supportive, really excited for you. And I think people do make lifelong friends, because in the end, or in the beginning, we will all, get everyone's Instagram handle so you can message each other. Mm-hmm. So for sure, everyone we keep in contact with, you follow everyone else's stories and message each other, and then ask them if you're applying again. So it's always a question you ask everyone. No, I'm thinking about applying it for next year. So maybe, every year I think about it.
Absolutely. And what was the hardest competition for you?
In Ninja, or just any athletic thing?
In the Ninja Warrior.
For me, the hardest stuff is actually balance and agility. That one takes out a lot of ninjas, because we're good at the upper body grip things, but the feet and the agility, super hard to train, and very scary.
Would probably be good at that, like the former.
I mean, honestly, everyone I know that does ninja was a gymnast when they were young. I mean, 90%, because they're good at that. So I was always like, gosh, I wish I did gymnastics as a kid, because I can't do I can't do a flip or anything. And all, you see the ninjas are always flipping around, and you're like, oh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I challenge them to get in the water and do a nice swim. And then you've got them beat in 2 seconds, hands
Very
down.
Yeah.
I'll be your coach and cheerleader over here. So I can imagine you're probably just a tremendous coach, because you've since quit your 9-to-5 job where you were working sort of in management for theater and film and television, which obviously, with all of your combinations, this was really giving you a wonderful package as a trainer, because, well, obviously you're a joy to talk to. You've got the most wonderful attitude. It's down to our happy Helen fitness, which is bona fide, really what you epitomize. And you've gone through setbacks, and you've gone through these huge challenges, and you've been on TV, and you've done all of these things have conglomerated into just a powerhouse of a fitness business. And in looking at your website, first of all, I love the recruiting video, because it's cool. Like, why wouldn't you want to train with this girl?
Oh my God.
I would also think that a lot of men would be drawn to that, because it's like, oh my God, she's a ninja. She is a literal ninja. And that's got to be sort of interesting, because they may get cocky with you, like, oh, I can lift that, things like that. But even some women, and I noticed on your, some of the success stories, like some of the brides to be or things like that you took one client from a 1,000-calorie diet to a 1,600 calorie diet for increased metabolic rate, and completely brought down her body fat, increased her muscle mass. And it's a hard sell as women. I love to lift. You love to lift.
Yeah.
But it's a very hard sell. How do you negotiate around that for women?
In terms of lifting heavy or eating more or both?
Probably, definitely both. And I
Yeah.
want to ask you also, just on a separate question, you have had to change your diet many times just due to, you probably went from 6,000
Oh, yeah.
calories on the English channel to other things. And
Yeah,
you just
probably.
admitted that you wanted to look good. Health is, people are like, oh yeah, being healthy is great, but I just want to look damn good. And we all
Sure, who doesn't,
know,
right?
exactly. So take me through that if you don't mind.
In terms of my personal,
Kind of your personal with that, and then how it translates to coaching women.
yeah, for sure. I think that's why a lot of trainers help other people, because they went through their own personal fitness journey, learned a lot, and realized they want to help other people, right? So, I was the same way as everyone else. I actually hired a trainer and a coach because I wanted to look a certain way. I trained them for this specific aesthetic purpose. I want to have a 6-pack. I want to look lean so that, other people will be impressed with me. It was very, all about self-validation. So, but I totally get it. Everyone wants to look good. Who doesn't? But what was really great along the way of getting these different, and I've had a few coaches, and everyone, a good coach, all in the end really help you realize it's really about being healthy. And when you are healthy, you look good. It goes hand in hand, right? If you are healthy, you will look good and you're going to feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And if you focus on those things, it does end up aligning with how you want to look. But when you only focus on how you look, it often does not turn out the way you want, because let's be honest, looks are really subjective. You can wake up one morning and think you look good and next day you don't, or someone else might think you look good and someone else don't. So measuring progress on very subjective level doesn't work well for anyone, like the person or the client or the trainer. But when you try to tell people focus on health, we have better measurable goalposts along the way, and then people feel more motivated. But that was my personal journey too, having the same coaches trying to help me focus on eating better, just eating less processed food and focusing on lifting weights and using those as measurements, right? Because with lifting weights, you have objective measurements of lifting heavier, and then you feel good about yourself. You're making progress.
Right.
So having those kind of measurable progress along the way always helps. And that was my exact same journey, trying to wrap my head around not focusing on, what my ab looks like every day. Don't get me wrong. We all still do it. That's why we need a coach sometimes to help us get out of our heads, because we all do it. We look at ourselves and we're like, oh my gosh, I have a little, every woman comes to me and they're like, can you get rid of this specific fat right there?
Yes, we can't spot train people. We can't spot train.
Right. Or they just only see specific things that the rest of us don't. So we don't see that little bit of fat. Everyone has fat, but we all see for ourselves the most critical things that other people just don't see. So helping people to kind of wrap their head around, let's not get all caught up in this little tiny fat that's on your hips that probably supposed to happen anyways. You know what I mean? But
Sure,
I get it. I do the same thing.
Have you had to work with any clients that were super underweight, maybe recovering anorexics or bulimics, but they probably wouldn't go to your level of fitness right away? There'd be more.
If they come to me and I don't feel it's a good fit, I tell them, because they might need additional help, or maybe a therapist, or, something a little bit out of my expertise. And because I want to do right by them. And if they're really coming from a health that I know I'm not qualified, then I would definitely refer them to someone else for sure. Because with that kind of stuff, there's also a lot of mental aspects that
takes a lot of psych. Exactly. But I noticed you have a wonderful degree also as a precision nutritionist. And how far can you go with that? Like, obviously you can't probably maybe prescribe like a dietitian can, but you can do quite a bit.
Yeah. With precision nutrition is a really great program, because they really are, they're very intuitive. They're all about whole foods, which is always great for everyone, right?
Lifestyle.
Because they're not subscribing to one specific thing for people, which is really great, because everyone is different and some people react to different foods than others. So I definitely don't like the whole good versus bad food labeling, and precision nutrition is very good at terms of kind of their whole strategy or whole outlook is just try to eat more whole foods and less processed foods, which I think everyone can agree on.
Absolutely.
And everyone feels better when they do it. and learning about that. So for me as a trainer, using that to apply to most of my clients does really well, because we can't prescribe specific diets.
Exactly.
Or anything. That's a dietitian. You got to go to, that kind of nutritionist to do all of that. But you can help guide people in making better choices for their body, right?
Absolutely.
Kind of guiding people in
but
what
it's a
feels
pretty
good for you.
universal, healthy attitude about it anyway. So you're not really
Right,
going
exactly. Everyone knows eat less processed food. I mean,
Yeah.
not everyone knows, but we try to tell people eat less processed foods and see how you feel. And I would say most people are like, oh, I do feel less, tired or crabby when I eat less processed foods.
Absolutely. That's common sense for most of us.
For most people, right?
I know, exactly. So how do you, in your own regimen, before we wrap up, in your own regimen, what kind of training do you do? And like, if someone were to be like, oh, Helen, I want to be trained I want to be like you. I want to be an American Ninja Warrior. I'm sure a lot of people do come to you specifically for that. What kinds of things in everyday life could people do if they can't seek a coach like you or something like that? What would be some great exercises for them to start doing? Maybe jump squats or...
I mean, it depends. It depends. If someone comes to me, I would obviously ask them what their very specific goal is, because if they want to specifically be a ninja, then I would say go to the ninja gym and train in that. So basically whatever you need, whatever goal it is, you need to do that specific thing. So like if they want to be a ninja, then I would say go train on the ninja obstacles versus exercises at home, because while those exercises at home might make you a little stronger or whatever, nothing's going to replace whatever that sport specific activity. That will always be the number one training that they do. But if they're, again, that's if they want to be a ninja or something, then go to a ninja gym. Mm-hmm. But if they want to be stronger or look a certain way, then obviously that's a whole different program and training as well. Everything's very specific depending on that goal, and that obviously depends on the person. But
and your recruiting video is amazing. But I can imagine too that some women might seek you out because you're such a strong woman. I mean, you're also just besides mental strength and getting through like, oh, she's a ninja warrior, like, oh, she's totally badass. I would assume maybe some people seek you out because maybe they're lacking that and they kind of look to you for that. Have you found any clients?
I would say, I mean, that's very nice. I hope so. That would be really nice. Yeah. I don't know for sure, but I have noticed with my clients that I admire them too. They're strong business people. They're strong-willed. They want to feel strong emotionally, physically, mentally,
right?
And they maybe because it's sort of you seek the people that you admire or like you. So I find that my clients come to me and I like them back too because I admire them back. So there must be some sort of self-selection,
like a symbiotic relationship. Which obviously
exactly right. Because I find my clients, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're a badass too, But then they find me, and I was like, so we kind of complement each other on different things. So I think that's awesome. But I think my clients are pretty badass too.
Most definitely. And I guess your attitude is just so infectious. What do you think when things get you down, especially during this pandemic and so many people are suffering and also people are getting, I just put up a podcast today about workouts becoming mundane at home at the same time, at the cruel same time that the holiday season is going to kick in. And we gained 7 to 10 pounds within 6 weeks. So workouts are getting boring and virtual training. And I highlighted to girls that to spice things up at home. What things can we do? How do you would you tell clients to avoid depression? Because a lot of these times, it's a very scary time. And with your infectious attitude, what gets you through so beautifully on the outside anyway?
Yeah. I'm just like everyone else. If I don't move around, I get super depressed as well, especially with New England weather and it's getting colder. So for me and for everyone else, I would say keep moving around, because the sedentary really makes people feel depressed. The longer you sit on the couch, the harder it is to get up. And I'm the same way. Absolutely. So keep moving, even if you have to just take a quick lap outside and get fresh air. Because people, if you go outside and get fresh air, sometimes you already just instantly feel a little better from getting some fresh air.
Absolutely.
But just keep moving and and the thing is, the good news is there are a lot of virtual options for people for exercise, and some of them are free. People can find a free class and just to have motivation,
right,
and do it and try different things if they're bored. Because I have found that, on a lot of apps online, I can find just different classes to try virtually just to keep me sane.
Yeah.
you know, because you have to move. The longer you sit on the couch, the more depressed you get. And then when you're depressed, you eat more like crap, and then you feel worse, and then it gets worse.
Idle mind is devil's playground, and I am all about moving it. And in LA, we have triple lockdown now, so we're not really supposed to.
I know.
We're not supposed to walk outside. I'm like, oh, come on now.
I know
It's
that's
just-
you can't. You gotta get fresh air because people's vitamin D's. They're gonna feel nuts.
It's just ridiculous. And a couple more things. How can we support you always? It's Instagram at Happy Helen Fitness, and then you have a training program. You're out of Boston, but you train virtually. You meet. I saw that one point. I'm like, I'll go to your garage if you need. I'll go to your driveway. I'll go.
Yeah.
Pretty
Just
flexible.
help happyhelenfitness.com, my website.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And what has been your favorite cheat food or drink of choice during this COVID pandemic?
I'm a big fan of bubble tea. I'm huge on boba. I make it myself so that so there's less sugar in there. Yeah,
of course you do.
And
that's just so that you do the own tapioca pearls that you soak.
Yeah, because they soak it in sugar, and that's why it's so delicious. So if I make it myself, I can put less in it or some sort of substitute.
Yeah, because I saw the caloric content at a place.
It's just the sugar because the tea. Yeah, because the tea is fine, but the sugar level is what gets people. But
I love it.
That is my favorite.
You and your boba. Well, best of luck. Have a wonderful holiday season. We'll certainly be in touch before this. And
thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. And do you have any kind of like motivating American Ninja chant that you guys did or anything like that?
No, I wish we did. I wish we had a chant. Yeah, Ninja Warrior. There was no chant, but maybe I should tell them that we need an American Ninja
But you guys
Warrior.
are so damn cool and like badass. You don't even need it. It's like we show up. We're ninjas.
Yeah, that's it.
We just show leader pop and circumstance with an orchestra. It's us. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll keep up the wonderful work, and it's been a real pleasure. Helen, thank you so much. That's Helen Lynn of Happy Helen Fitness, and it'll all be on the notes below. Thanks again.
Thanks so much.
And that was Helen Lynn of America's Ninja Warrior Season 10 and the owner of Happy Helen Fitness. You can find all of her info on the show notes. Please stay tuned in next week for my interview about a very out-of-the-box workout that is quite difficult and fun and very challenging. We appreciate you for listening, and please subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. You can also listen on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Luminary, Tuned In, or at Bleav.com. You can reach out to me for any questions or topics you'd like covered on the show at Anne McDaniels. And I'll see you next time on So